everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Hot for Teacher. It's Hot for Teacher. It's not office hours. It's not role play. It's not a video game. It must be Hot for Teacher. Hello. Welcome. Sit down. If this is your first episode, you have to feel. No, you don't. You don't have to do anything. That's how this works. So Hot for Teacher is us hanging out and talking about relationships and human interaction and feelings and how to survive that stuff, hopefully. The way that this works is that over the course of the last couple of weeks since the last episode, people have been submitting questions just like they do every week. You can do that if you want. If you have a question and you want me to talk about it and you want to get that conversation going, go to my website, www.adam-koble.com. There's a Hot for Teacher link. If you click that, you can fill out the form. You can give me your name. You could not give me your name. You can be anonymous. It's entirely up to you. But basically, each week I pick 3 questions and read them out loud on stream, and then we just talk about them. And I've said this before in many episodes, but it bears repeating, I think. The goal of Hot for Teacher is not to solve everyone's problems, because God knows I can barely manage to solve my own, but to create a space in which we can discuss relationship related stuff, right? It's to create an opportunity once every couple of weeks where we can just sit down and give ourselves a minute to think about the things that we're feeling, think about the ways we're interacting with other people. So when you hear these questions today, don't think to yourself necessarily, I'm not Joe. I don't have Joe's problems. I don't need to think about this too much. I'll just wait until the next question. Think about ways that Joe's problems might also be your problems, or they might be the problems of the people around you, right? This is the thing, is that it's not as if that there are perfectly unique problems that only individual people have, right? We have a big shared pool of stuff that happens to us as human beings. And while Joe, who is our first question asker, sort of call you out here, Joe may have a specific thing that Joe wants to talk about. His stuff might not be exactly the same as yours, but I bet you could find something that you and Joe have in common. Or at least maybe you know a Joe. Maybe this will help you. It's interesting. A lot of the time when I answer these questions, I end up talking to the other people in the life of the question asker, right? It's not just, hey, you asked me a question, I'm going to help you. It's often, let's talk about the other people who are around this person. Let's give them advice. So maybe you know a Joe and you want to do a better job interacting with him, right? So anyway, hopefully Hot for Teacher will help you get your brain into a relationship space and you can start thinking about how that works. Now, when I talk about relationships, and I'm making sarcastic quotation marks here, but when I talk about relationships, I don't just mean husband and wife. I don't just mean boyfriend and girlfriend. I don't just mean romantic or sexual relationships. I mean friendships. I mean coworkers. I mean family. I mean casual interactions. We talk a lot about just how we build these relationships and how we deal with them in our day-to-day life, regardless of what shape they might take. I'm not coming to the table with any particular preconception. Yeah. Also, yeah, a good point. We've talked about people's relationships with their pets before. So it's cool. We're just going to talk about stuff. And we're going to start with a question from Joe, which I thought was quite interesting. So here's what Joe has to say. I have been depressed for some time and have developed a nihilistic attitude towards much of the day-to-day. I find it hard to look for new relationships or a new job because what's the point? We all die anyway. I'm even having trouble getting out of bed in the morning because I'm just going to end up on my back in the end. I've discussed this with some close friends and everyone's advice comes around to counseling. While I'm not opposed to it and I'm slowly looking into it, I'm curious if you have any tips, tricks, or words of wisdom regarding navigating or even leveraging one's nihilism. Thank you for all you do. Keep bringing joy to people's lives. I don't know if I do that. I'd like to think that that's possible, but this is the situation, right? So yeah, nihilism. What is it? What are we talking about here? What does it mean? How does it relate to feeling depressed? How does it relate to getting shit done? How does it relate to being a functional person, whatever that looks like? So I have in the past talked about both being a person who is also depressed, like Joe. I also feel that I have depression as a factor in my life. I'm also fairly nihilistic. I have some deep-seated nihilism stuff going on in my life experience, and so for me, this question resonates pretty personally. So let's talk about what that's like, right? Let's talk about that stuff. So when we talk about nihilism, what we might mean might vary depending on the angle with which we are coming into this space, right? So nihilism as a philosophy it's fundamentally a rejection of religious and moral principles, under the belief that no structural thing has any true meaning, right? When nihilism was first becoming a philosophical concept, I believe in the 19th century, when it was first starting to become a thing, the early nihilists were fervently opposed to what they saw as the social and moral and religious structures around them at the time, right? Like much philosophy, nihilism isn't just a broad understanding of the universe in general. It's applicable to a specific time and place and cultural background, right? Nihilism had its sort of fundamental start in Western Europe. This idea of it, at least, it's not like we haven't been oblivion worshipping death cultists for our entire existence as humans, but this modern branch of sort of Western nihilism, what we think of it, is a response to a particular time period, right? Much like other things like communism or existentialism or Catholicism, it has adapted over time and splintered and changed. And so what we think of as nihilism might be that understanding, right? That sort of Russian movement, that Nietzsche-esque kind of philosophical nihilism, but it might also be this more modern, like there is, and I'm sure I'm not the only one to observe this, but there is what you could almost call Twitter nihilism, right? This sort of postmodern or post-postmodern approach to like memeing the ideas of nihilism in a modern sort of absurdist way, right? This is the overwrought sort of tweeting about wanting to die. This is this idea of feeling like the universe is pointless, but in like a jokey way, like with a picture of SpongeBob or whatever. And I think that stuff, that like Twitter nihilism, it's a valid form of nihilism as well, right? It's an adaptation of an old idea, but generally this understanding of nihilism is that nothing matters inherently. Now, there is a branch of nihilism that feeds through things like punk rock, like a lot of outsider art, this idea that not only is nothing of any meaning, but the only natural response to things being meaningless is to destroy, right? This kind of vibe of like destroying things as a way to carry the concepts of nihilism forward, right? The ultimate destruction of everything is inevitable, so why not speed it along? And to a degree, that's where things start to get weird, right? This idea of nihilism because I think that we have seen many times the ideas, the tenets of nihilism carried to a destructive, especially socially destructive end result, right? This idea that if nothing matters, we should be able to do whatever we want and fuck whatever anybody else thinks or feels, and we should probably use our creative impulses to instead attempt to bring about the speeding up of the heat death of the universe. This sort of supervillain nihilism applied on a small scale gives you things like self-involved shitty libertarians, right? I think that there is a subset of the ideas of nihilism that create this like, well, fuck what anybody else thinks. I'm going to be irresponsible and I am going to just burn it all down because what does it matter anyway? I get that feeling. I understand where that comes from. And I think it is a way you could respond to feeling like things are pointless. But I think that it's also kind of fruitless, right? Like if the universe is going to destroy itself eventually anyway, if the sun is going to go out and the earth is going to freeze and humanity will eventually burn itself out, why speed that process along, right? You've only got let's be generous, 100 years. You've only got 100 years, if we're being real generous, to do anything, to feel things, to experience stuff, to sing, to dance, to play video games, to write, to sleep, to whatever, right? So why let the universe win, right? Why let this force of entropy have the win on this one, right? Why give up, right? And I get when you're depressed, when you have feelings of hopelessness, nihilism can seem very appealing as a philosophy. That kind of everything's fucked, nothing matters. It can justify those feelings that depression can already be causing. For me, the dangerous intersection of nihilism as a philosophy and as a practice and depression is that why do anything? Why bother, right? You wake up in the morning, you feel deeply depressed, you think, I am sad, I'm too sad to get up and do anything. Nihilism can be that voice in the back of your head that says, awesome. Do nothing. Nothing matters. Everything you do today is pointless. Why bother making your bed? You're just going to get back into it at the end of the day, right? Why bother? And so when depression says that, nihilism might be waiting in the back of your head to agree. And so you think, okay, I feel like nothing matters. Nothing does matter. Why do anything? And then you don't do anything. And then you get that 100 years and you're just throwing it away. Right? You're saying it doesn't matter. Why bother? I'm just going to lay around until the heat death of the universe or the heat death of me. Right? And so, okay, yes, that is a natural feeling, but it's not a helpful one necessarily. Right? It's a natural way to say, yes, my emotional state and my philosophical state line up. But I guess the question becomes, nihilism or no, is that what you want? Right? Is that the life you actually want to have? And if it is, I guess, okay, but I don't know. I don't know if that's where I want to be. So what I do to kind of put those things together, right, is look at nihilism in a different way. Right? So yes, you have depression. And yes, you're going to do the thing that everyone suggests because it's a good idea to help you with that depression, right? You're not going to cure it. You're not going to fix it. You're going to learn to cope with and live with it and not let it run your life. Cool. Good. Go to a counselor, get help with that, work on that. Talk about this with your counselor, right? But can you leverage nihilism positively, right? Can your accepting of the universe as a ultimately absurd and fruitless place, can that be beneficial to you? Or is it going to be something that you're going to need to shed in favor of maybe a more positive, less depression enabling philosophy? I don't know. I'm not you. For me, the answer is yes. And the reason for that is that my nihilism, the way that I see it, isn't the kind of nihilism that allows me to do nothing. Right? It is an aggressive sort of nihilism. It is a recognition that because nothing matters, right? Because religion carries no value for me, because social rules carry no value, because the established political systems of the world I live in are meaningless, fruitless, pointless, and absurd. Now I have to find meaning in things, right? Some people find meaning in going to church, right? They find meaning in being around their peers in a religious environment. Some people find meaning in engaging the political systems. They enjoy volunteering for political parties. Maybe they run for office. Maybe that gives their life meaning, right? For me, those systems, those structures don't make me feel like I'm doing anything, right? Participating in things like that don't give me any value or hope or good vibes. And for me, that's not about being a cranky nihilist and looking at things and being like, they're meaningless. Why are you doing this? This sucks. Like, it's not about saying no. It's about recognizing that those structures don't appeal to me. And so as a result, I have to find other things to do to make a difference. To feel like my life has meaning, I have had to find those things. And I guess that's the leveraging here. That's the recognition that it's okay if the things you are told should matter don't, right? My nihilism is deeply bound up in my non-monogamy. My nihilism is bound up in my politics. It's bound up in my queerness. This idea that the systems I am being told matter, that it is important to be straight and to have children and to get married, but I don't feel that way. And so as a result, I've had to decide, okay, other things matter instead, right? So I think that's my advice here, Joe, is that nihilism can, if you let it, boost your depression. It can justify your depression. But I think that if you want to carry on feeling this way, if you want to carry on like embracing your nihilism, you have to recognize that it's only a starting point, right? And for you, understanding that nothing really matters might need to be a starting point to, so I'm going to make things matter, right? And you do this already. Everybody does this already every day, right? We don't all listen to the music that's on the radio. We don't all eat the food that ads tell us to eat. We don't all like what we are marketed to like. We all have things that matter to us for some deeper, more personal reason, right? There are people among us, right? Our friends, our family, our coworkers who go to their job not because they are told they have to go to work, but because they love what they do, right? There are people who are in relationships not because they are scared of being alone, but because they truly want to share their lives with other people. We want to be like those people, right? We want to do the things that we do because they matter to us. And so in this way, as we reject our religious upbringing, for example, right? As we say no to the man in the frock with the Bible, as we say no to the politician telling us to vote strategically, right? As we say no to things like following a straight mononormative narrative, as we say no to those things, we must also find other things to say yes to instead. Because the trap of nihilism, the trap of depression, is saying no to everything. And this doesn't mean that you have to find some noble quest, right? This doesn't mean that you have to devote your life to something huge and significant. It just means like find shit every day that even if the whole world doesn't care about it, you care about it. It matters to you. Because while I think that nihilism is very appealing in a world that feels sort of shitty and fruitless, it doesn't matter what. Find something to care about and find the spark in that caring, right? Because this is the thing, that if nothing matters, because someone else says so, you become the center of the universe. You become the ultimate arbiter of what matters or doesn't, right? And it can be something so tiny and so irrelevant to the whole rest of the universe, but if it matters to you, what else do you need? Right? So, in my mind, nihilism isn't about rejecting meaning. It's not about saying there is no meaning in anything, right? It's about recognizing that no one and nothing can tell you what is meaningful except you, right? It doesn't mean that you are excused from being a person. It just means that you get to decide what makes you a good person, right? And nihilism and depression, they're an interesting combo. And I think that if your experience with counseling, with therapy is anything like my own, you will get help finding a way to discover those things that do feel meaningful, right? It's just that you're starting from zero, right? The nihilists, when this movement began, they were responding to their day and age, right? They were responding to their zeitgeist. And the zeitgeist of nihilism's time said, God is real. The church matters. The state is real. The state matters. Marriage matters. Children matter. Work matters. And the nihilists were saying, no, those things don't matter inherently, right? Are there nihilists that go to church? Of course. Are there nihilists with jobs? Of course there are. The question is, what matters to you, right? Structurally, nothing has any inherent value. It just puts a lot more pressure on you to figure out what's going to make your life feel meaningful. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's friendships. Maybe it's romance. Maybe it's fan fiction. Maybe it's your Twitch channel. Maybe it's photography. Maybe it's exploring. Maybe it's reading. It doesn't matter. I can't give you that because it doesn't matter inherently to anybody. It matters to you. So I guess this is the thing. When you wake up in the morning and you have your own depression on one shoulder telling you there's no point in getting out of bed, and you have Friedrich Nietzsche on the other shoulder speaking to you in German and you don't understand him, but you get the gist, telling you to just go back to bed. You get to make that decision, right? You get to decide what you're getting out of bed for today. And for me, this is it, right? Like I got out of bed today to do this, to answer these questions, to engage with my audience, to do work, and to talk, right? This is for me what's meaningful. What it is for you, I don't know. Right? Even if you are a nihilist, right? Even if you are deeply internalizing the idea that nothing matters, the next step from there is finding things and imbuing them with meaning, right? Because I promise you that everyone who has ever been a nihilist cares at least about one thing, right? Even people who have written philosophical tracts about how meaningless everything is, guess what? They care about nihilism. They cared enough to write a book. They cared enough to be a philosopher, right? So my tips, tricks, and words of wisdom here are just like follow your passion. And sometimes depression can make that hard. maybe always, right? Maybe always it can. Maybe depression is keeping that stuff from you. But that's what counseling, that's what therapy will help you do. Find the things that you care about. Even in a universe that feels like nothing is of any value, just means you have to do the work, right? Yeah. And you know what? I don't think it's hypocritical. I don't think it's hypocritical to recognize that the universe is an absurd, meaningless experience, and that human consciousness, probably a joke, and that life is more suffering than it is anything else. But there are these moments where you actually get to do things and like care about shit and imbue it with meaning. Imbuing things with meaning, that's about the best thing you can do. So yeah, get out there and find those things, right? Because yeah, eventually you're going to die, but like, so is everybody. We can accept that. We can move on. But I get that it's hard. I guess that's the thing that's preventing me from just being like, well, that's the question. It's hard. Let's just acknowledge that. Good luck, Joe. I believe in you, but good luck. It's a challenge. Yeah, absolutely. So our second question today comes from Max, and not that Max, a different Max. And it's about, and this is a great question. I love this question. It's totally unique. This is the only time I think I've ever seen this come up, and this is great. Let's read I'm going to read the question, and I bet you by the time I get to the end, you're going to realize why I think this is an interesting question. All right. So. I'm 24. This is Max now, not me. I'm not 24. Max is a baby. I'm living in LA. I'm unemployed. I'm pursuing a career in writing. Also looking for internships. Somebody get Max a job. Let's get Max. Anybody in LA? Max, get Max a job. I'm living with family, and I'm in the most frightening place I've been in my life, both emotionally and physically. But somehow, through it all, I found someone I want to pursue romantically. She likes me, I like her, we've been on several dates, we met on Bumble, and even though things are moving fast, we both like how much chemistry we have with each other. Awesome. That's great. Right? You're taking risks. 24 is a great age to be like trying shit and failing. So good for you, Max. But I don't have a very good budget, and I'm worried my priorities have been thrown a little. I need to pay bills, save up money, and there's a bit of a deadline for me being out here if I haven't found a job or an internship by around January. I guess I'm worried that I can't afford to be in a relationship like this. It's actually my first real long-term romantic relationship, and I want to make it last, but I'm afraid I can't afford to go on dates and do things that normal couples should be doing. Should I tell her I can't afford to be in a relationship and ask her to wait until I can? That seems kind of shitty. Should I just assume she's okay with my budget? She already knows I'm unemployed, but that also seems kind of shitty. I want to be able to provide things for her. But maybe that's just society telling me what the man's role is in a relationship. I just have no fucking clue what to do, and I'm a little scared, to be honest. Any thoughts? Whoa. So, all right, Max, here's the thing. You're in a relationship with this excellent person, but the only thing that's fucking you is capitalism. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, okay, so here's the thing. First and foremost here, Max, there's no such thing as being too poor for love. That's it. Like, you're not too poor to be allowed to have a relationship. Fuck that completely. If you are ever in a situation where somebody says to you, like, I can't date you, you're poor, just thank them for their time, put them in a cab, send them to Cape Canaveral, put them on a rocket ship, and shoot them into space. Good riddance. But I get it. There is pressure, right? There is pressure on you. There is pressure on her. There is pressure on everyone who is attempting to participate in the great and terrible dance that is modern romance. I think you're absolutely right. There is pressure on you here from the universe, from your society, right? From your culture saying you need to be rich. You need to pay her telephone bills. You got to pay her automobiles, right? There is this thing of like men provide. And if you do not provide, you are not a good man. So that gender normativity stuff is weighing on you. And I think that's real, right? I think that's happening too. And we're all kind of just internalizing this. Max, I learned as a child that paying for things is a way of expressing affection. I had it happen to me. I do it to other people. I feel weird when they don't see that I'm doing it because I have this relationship with gender roles and with money. I have that relationship too, and I have to work against it. Money is not love. You can have love without it. I'm bringing this up because it's a thing that everyone struggles with this, right? Everyone is dealing with this because there are norms laid on top of their relationship that forces them to feel or behave certain ways that are harmful to them. In this case, you are having anxiety around feeling like you're going to be exempted from a loving relationship because you just can't afford to pay the price. And you're right. You're absolutely right. Like, having money lets you go on dates. Dates are what let you fall in love with people. Love is what allows you to gain access to things like comfort and sex and relationship status among your friends. Like, there are a bunch of things that you can literally get by paying for them in an indirect way, and it all sucks. It all sucks so bad. It sucks. Just take a page from Joe's book. All right, Max. Dating is absurd. Doesn't mean anything. It is a ritual behavior that we can participate in that will lead us to a very specific relationship narrative. If you want to go on dates and buy people dinner and go to the movies or whatever, fine, you can. But do it because you want to. Do not do it because you think this is your only way to get access to being loved. If somebody only loves you because you can afford to go on dates with them, I've got a one-way ticket to the moon for this person, right? So what can you do? Well, you can talk about this. You can open up to this person, right? You said that you have chemistry with them. You like her. She likes you. You like her. She likes you. There's some feelings there, right? Do you trust this person enough to be like, so, I'm broke. Can we talk about that? Right? I'm broke. I can't afford to do the dance, right? I can't afford to go out to a restaurant twice a week with you. I can't afford to take that weekend trip to wherever. I don't know. Where do people that live in LA go on weekend trips? Joshua Tree, right? I can't do that. I live in an expensive town. I am trying to start my career. I think you're great. You're hot. You're cool. It's fun to hang out with you. I'd like to continue that, but can we do it in a way that's not fiscally harmful to me? And if the two of you actually care about each other, this person, Max, will say to you, it must be stressful for you trying to engage in the modern romantic paradigm while also trying to build your career and acknowledging that you don't have money, right? This must be difficult, and I empathize, and I want to engage with you as a person. I don't care about the fact that you can't afford these things. Let's find other ways that we can spend time together, right? If this person really likes you, they will find ways that are not harmful to them to engage in a romantic relationship with you. Now, if this person says to you, oh, I don't really date poor people, moon. If this person says to you, I really want to date a man who's going to pay for everything, moon. If they say to you, I just can't see myself dating someone with no ambition or no hustle, the moon, right? You don't need this person. And I know it's scary. Sometimes when we care about people, we have to, it's not testing them, but we have to give them the opportunity to show that they are worth caring about, that they are people that can meet us part way. Now, this person may put up boundaries. This person may say to you, I also can't afford to pay for everything. So that's not going to work for me if we go that route. They might say, I want to feel like we are equal partners in this relationship, and I'm trying to date somebody in my economic bracket, and it might just come up that you and this person are not a good match, right? Because this is the thing that we sometimes forget about. This is the thing that we sometimes miss, right? This idea of incompatibility, right? We think about physical compatibility, right? Does this person make my pants tingle? We think about emotional compatibility, right? Do I feel safe and comfortable around this person? But there are realities of fiscal compatibility that fucking suck. And having that conversation is as hard as having the conversation about emotions or physical stuff or whatever. Like, these are all very difficult conversations to have, but you're going to need to have this conversation, and hopefully your emotional connection with this person, hopefully it plays out, right? I think the thing is relationships can exist and must, in fact, be able to exist between people with different levels or layers or whatever of struggle in their lives, right? If we could only date people within our same societal bracket, rich men could only date other rich men, and then I guess they wouldn't be troubling the rest of us. But the idea here is that you just have to acknowledge it, right? In the same way that if I'm in a relationship with a woman, right? There is a power imbalance there just because of our gender. If I am in a relationship with a trans person, right? Regardless of their gender, there is a power imbalance there. If I'm in a relationship with a person of color, I have to recognize those power imbalances. And economy, right? Class imbalance, that is true too, right? Class imbalance is relative. So being in a relationship with somebody with more or less money than you is a form of power imbalance, and you need to talk about it. Right? You need to acknowledge that this situation, right? Romance, modern archetypal romance was built for people with money. People with money go on dates to the movies. They go to clubs. They take a cab everywhere. Like there's so much media representation of people who are willing and able to budget for romance. But that does not mean, just because culture and society tell you that romance is for rich people, it doesn't mean that you can't still engage in it. I don't think anyone deserves anything, right? I don't think that you are entitled to love. I think you have to work for it. I think a functioning, comfortable, happy relationship is the product of hard work, acknowledgement of difficulty, and comradeship. And I don't know, maybe this is just my like frustrated inner Marxist speaking, but I think that if you want to be in a relationship with someone, they have to be a comrade, right? They have to be someone that you help them with their struggles, they help you with yours, and the two of you, or three of you, or eight of you, or however many people make up your relationship unit, you are arms locked against the forces of the universe that are trying to keep you down, whether that's mental health, whether that's social inequality, right? Whether that's class struggle. You got to work together. So like, it's fair to be scared, Max. Everyone has been telling you you're too poor for love. You don't deserve it. Only people who can afford to pay the ticket price should be allowed to be in love. I'm going to be one voice, I hope, among others, but I'm going to try to be one voice here saying that's wrong. That feeling of like not being entitled to or not being allowed to be in love because you're poor, fuck that. Capitalism doesn't get to continue fucking you if you don't want it to. So here's the thing, just talk to her, right? Just sit down, say what you said to me. I mean, run this for her, right? Say, hey, so I was having some anxiety about our relationship and I asked my friend Adam on the internet to maybe give me some advice. Here's what Adam said. Watch it together and then be like, let's have this conversation, right? Because baby, the only one I want to be fucking is you. Capitalism, get out. I've broken up with you. You can find things to do that fit your budget that still allow you to get to know somebody better. You know, like this relationship is between you and this person, not you, this person, and class struggle. So acknowledge it, talk about it, engage it, have clear boundaries, invite this person to have clear boundaries of their own, and build your relationship around this idea that you don't necessarily have to be economic equals to function. You know? So it's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard conversation. But honestly, like, that's how relationships work. If a relationship is easy and you don't have these conversations, it probably means you're ignoring stuff that bothers you. And I think we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to the people close to us to be vulnerable. And I'm a massive hypocrite for saying this, like massive hypocrite. It is my number one personal problem that I don't let other people help me with shit. So I'm going to try to do better too, Max. You and me, let's do it. Let's invite other people to help us with the things that are causing us to suffer. So go have that conversation, right? Get out there and talk to this person. And if they like you, if they care about you, they're gonna want to do this work with you, right? And I'm just gonna say this, and I don't know. I was gonna talk a little bit at the beginning of the stream about this. I guess it's International Men's Day today, which is a complicated thing. I will say to Max and to other men out there who might be feeling like there's a lot of pressure to behave in a specific way as a man, right? We've all learned some bad lessons about masculinity. I think a lot of us are starting to recognize those bad lessons, right? like, I think we're starting to recognize that the things that we were taught about being men might have been bad advice. You don't need to be a provider if that doesn't work or make you feel good. You don't need to be strong and stoic and have a shit ton of money and never express your emotions. I think a lot of people are recoiling from masculinity. I think a lot of people are seeing that they have learned these bad lessons and they're saying, well, fuck being a man. Masculinity is a trash fire. I don't want to be a part of it. Which, like, yeah, when bad things happen, we want to recoil from them. And I think that's fair. But I think Max is right here. Max is seeing that some of this pressure is wrong, right? I think that there's this pressure to be rich that's making you feel like less of a man. And Max, I'm here to tell you, you're not less of a man just because you don't have a wallet full of bills. Poor men are still men. It feels like a given, but again, going back to the idea of nihilism and how we can apply it to things, what you were taught about being a man has no inherent meaning unless you want it to. You want to be a big, brave man? Talk about your feelings. I guess that's the takeaway. You want to feel like tough and brave and cool? Open up. Because that's way scarier than all the other stuff we're supposed to supposedly be brave about. Our third question, I like this. So our third question comes from a question asker who has chosen to remain anonymous, and I can see why. She has chosen to remain anonymous. We're going to refer to her as Not Comfortable, or NC. NC has a problem, or rather, NC knows some people with a problem. So, my good friend's long-term partner moved in with him recently after a long period of being long distance. I'm happy for them both as they clearly love each other, but something I notice that keeps happening every time I'm with the two of them or I see them interact, they get into these small little fights that lead to tense periods of silence because one of them said something thoughtless that hurt the other's feelings, and the other one is mad now because their partner is mad and snapped at them. Which leaves me awkwardly sitting there, desperately thinking of something to blow the moment over or staring at my phone, hoping the moment passes. It usually does fairly quickly, but their fighting happens frequently enough that I'm anxious and often reluctant to spend time with them, as I'm constantly worried when they're going to get into a fight over something insignificant, because at this point, it's an inevitability. I don't think they're going through any major issue in their relationship to cause this. They've just always been like this, from what I gather. Is it normal for couples to fight constantly like this? Am I just overreacting? Should I say something? If so, what do I say? Because saying, hey guys, can you stop accidentally upsetting each other in front of me seems unreasonable and honestly kind of a jerky thing to say. Should I be doing something other than waiting for their fight to pass? I know their relationship problems are not my problems to fix or stick my nose in, but sometimes I feel like I should be doing more or I'm missing certain etiquette to perform during moments like this. Ugh, God. Ugh. Just stop hanging out with them. Like, just... Ugh. I fucking hate them. I don't know them, but I hate their guts. Like, NC's friends, you're probably not listening to me right now, right? But like... Holy fucking stop it. Just cut it out. You're being the worst. It's just yeah. It's tough. It's tough and it's not good, and I just feel like I would not tolerate this. I would get so frustrated and so bored. It's like, you know how every time I have ever talked about monogamy drama and how boring it is to me, like how every time I watch a movie where the core plot is straight monogamous couple are together and then one cheats and then they fight and eventually they get back together and then love is real and they win out, and I just want to scream and rip my own face off. If it happened to me in real life, woo, man, I don't like couples. I don't like hanging out with them. I don't like being around them. It just bothers me. And I'd like to believe that if I were ever part of a situation like this and I were not noticing because I have my head up my ass, that my NC would say to me like, hey, so I like hanging out with y'all like for the first hour or so, but then your weird couple stuff, it makes me not want to hang out with you. It makes me not like you. And we're at an impasse here because I can't hang out with you when you're like this, but it would make me sad not to be friends with you. So I think you got two options here, right? Because NC, you're not interacting with one unit, or maybe you are. Here's the thing. Okay, so you're either friends with these people as individuals, in which case their relationship doesn't matter, in which case tell them, I don't want to hang out with you together, but I'll hang out with you individually, right? Jane, I will go to the movies with you because we like movies. John, I will hang out with you and get food because we like the same food. But the Jane-John combo, keep that shit away from me, right? And it sounds to me like you already understand your pre-existing relationship structure here. It sounds to me like you got good friend and you got good friend's partner. You don't have to hang out with good friend and good friend's partner, right? The transitive property of relationships is not real. Just because I love you does not mean I love the same people you love, right? Just because I want to hang out with you doesn't mean that you want to hang out with the people I want to hang. Like you don't, none of that matters. You have individual relationships with individual people. So talk to them as individuals. Let them know that this is like bothering you. You don't have to do it with them together, right? You can just talk to your good friend and be like, hey, I'm really happy that y'all get to be together, but it's stressing me the fuck out when we all hang out. So maybe we could just have a hangout, me and you. And maybe John doesn't have to come along. Right? Like, don't feel like just because someone is in a relationship that you have to interact with them. And it can be awkward. It can be difficult, right? Like, your person that you're talking to, your good friend, they might say, well, that makes me uncomfortable. I'm sad you don't like this person I like. That makes me feel like you don't understand or like me. They might get defensive. They might get weird. This is kind of sometimes the same situation as like, I like you, but I don't like Star Wars. And I'm like, but I like Star Wars. And if you don't like Star Wars, you must not like me. And then I get my little nerd brain all fucked up about how like the things I like are part of my identity. People do this with relationships where they're like, you don't like my boyfriend? But I love my boyfriend. So maybe you don't like me because we don't, it's fine. It's okay for the people you love not to like the things you like, including your boyfriend. It doesn't reflect badly on you necessarily. And NC, it's totally okay for you to just say that, right? To be like, listen, it's just hard for me to be around the two of you. You got relationship energy that doesn't make me feel very good. And maybe that works for you, but maybe you've noticed I kind of shut down when we get to this place. That is okay. You are allowed. Talk to this person, this good friend of yours, and just tell them how you feel. Put up a boundary. Say like, as long as it's like this, I can't hang out with the two of you because it sucks for me. You got better things to do with your life, right? Like you literally do. If you spend 4 hours with these two and 3 of those hours are you miserably looking at your phone, fuck all of that, right? You have 100 years, right? Are you going to waste any amount of that time on these two losers? I don't think so. Maybe if you express this to your good friend, they're going to have a conversation and be like, you know what? We're really obnoxious and we didn't realize. And NC mentioned it to me, and let's be better people. Let's stop doing this to our friends. Because I bet you're not the only one that this happens with, right? Maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't understand they're doing it. You don't have to put up with this just to be a good friend, right? You don't have to like bear this emotional burden for them. If this is how their relationship is, that's on them, but it might also cost them friendship, right? And that's up to you. You get to decide what to do with that. And I can't tell you how much you want to put up with, but like they're being rude to you and maybe they don't realize it, maybe they do, but you're going to have to put up a boundary and say something. I don't think you're overreacting. I don't know whether or not it's normal. I don't really care about normal. I don't think anyone should, but I think that it's hurting you and it's fucking up your day and you deserve better just at the baseline of being a person. You owe it to yourself to get out of there. I guess that's it. Like I don't think you owe these people your patience. So yeah, talk to your friend, express your feelings, let them work it out with their partner. And yeah, bear the risk that they might say to you some shitty stuff. They might be like, no, you have to care about them the same way I do. No, if you're friends with me, you have to be friends with them. In which case, yikes, get out of there. But you got to make a call about how much you want to suffer. We all get to make decisions about how much we want to suffer. So, yeah. How much do you want to suffer, NC? How much do you want to suffer? Everyone. Right? It's just how much are you willing to put up with? And I would say however much you think, and this is true of everybody. This is true for Max. This is true for NC. It's true for Joe. We all need to recognize that however much we think we should put up with, we can step one back from that, right? Whatever you think you should be suffering through, don't. Take a step back from that. Do yourself one better. And I guess that's my blanket advice for everyone, right? You probably think that it's better to suffer more than it actually is. Put up some boundaries. Deal with some stuff, right? Yeah. And it's hard. Sometimes we risk friendships, we risk connections. Sometimes we're forced to risk big things like job opportunities. We got to decide how much to put up with, you know? And we got to do that all day, every goddamn day. And that scale shifts. So NC, decide how much of this couple bullshit you want to put up with and talk to your friends about it. So that's it. That's Hot for Teacher this week. Thank you for coming. This has been episode number 38. We do this every couple of weeks. It's real fun. It's nice to sit down and talk about stuff, even the heavy stuff. Talk about gender, talk about capitalism, talk about relationships. So you can submit your questions, your topics, your thoughts. Go to www.adam-koble.com. Click on that Hot for Teacher link, fill out the form, and then here we are. We'll talk about relationship stuff. If you want to watch any other episodes, they are all on my YouTube channel. They go up Thursdays on YouTube, Tuesdays right here on Twitch, and that's it. That'll do her. Thanks for coming, everybody. We'll see you next time for episode number 39. Get out there. Have boundaries. Talk about your feelings. Thanks for coming. Bye, everybody.